Okay, that's fascinating to think about sovereignty from the evolutionary perspective. And then ultimately, money is the technology layer that enables sovereignty. So, it's really fascinating to think about our modern human society as deeply rooted in these like evolutionary roots from the very
Hmm.
origins of life on Earth. So, some of the ideas you just mentioned, what do you see are some interesting characteristics of just life on Earth that propagated to us humans? Like what ideas propagated through have roots in the evolution?
Yeah. I think one of the deepest impulsions in life is the territorial imperative. So all life is seeking to expand its dominion over space and time.
Hmm.
And we think about, again, physically with space, it's advantageous to an animal or an organism to have more territory under its control to raise offspring. So it's all about reproductive fitness at the end of the day. And then we could also think of reproduction itself as the genetic impulse to have more, to replicate oneself across time. So it's territoriality across time in a way. And this is very common in most animals. Not all animals are territorial, but many are. And you see very interesting behaviors resulting from territoriality. This is like animal combat. The reason birds sing is territoriality, a number of other things. And it's my hypothesis, and others have shared this hypothesis as well, that mankind is clearly, I think, would argue a territorial species, and that he expresses this territoriality in property rights. So property, when we hear that word, we typically think of an asset. We think of, oh, this house or this stock or whatever. But property is actually the socially acknowledged relationship between a human and an asset, such that you have exclusive rights and responsibilities to a particular asset. It is not the asset itself. So property, it's information. It's a relationship.
By the way, my mind was just blown. Property is information; it's not the actual asset. That's really important.
Very
That's
important.
that's really interesting.
Yeah. And then it comes down to how do we organize ourselves such that property that the contributions people are making are commensurate with the consideration they're receiving. So if you're adding value to a piece of property, you're developing a piece of land for use. In theory, like to be fair, you should have the rights to that fruit, right? If you go out and plant a garden or whatever it may be, um, and this is this is rooted in natural law, where we have rights to life, liberty, and property. Those are kind of just the fundamental layer of morality and capitalism, frankly. And you could think of, to get really primordial with it, the first capitalist in the world, just to kind of get some definitions out here, I'll say capitalism versus communism or socialism as the spectrum I'll speak on. The first capitalist in the world would be the guy, the caveman, that maybe dug a little hole for himself to shield himself from the elements, right? Maybe there was a rainstorm or a snowstorm and he dug a little enclave and he protected himself.
I thought you were going to go, because you said primordial, I thought you were going to go back to like earlier biological systems.
I guess primordial for human,
For
perhaps.
humans. Yeah. Okay.
And then the first communist or socialist would be someone that decided the fruits of his labor belonged to him. So he would have violently encroached on that individual and taken his plot for himself, for his own use. And that's the spectrum across which capitalism in the pure sense and communism in the pure sense operate. In that capitalism, each individual has the exclusive rights to the fruits of their labor. So anything they spend their time, effort, energy creating in the world, they own the rights to that, and they can trade those rights with others, other self-owned people that have done similar things. Communism or socialism would imply that other people, typically the state, have the rights, at least some rights to the value you've created.